Maria, please, the floor is yours.
Thanks so much. Speaker Metsola, President Metsola, apologies, Speaker Gaday, distinguished members of Parliament, thank you for inviting me to address you. I speak to you today from Manila, Philippines, where we've lived through what happens when the legislature or our parliament that fails to defend democracy against disinformation, where I've faced 11 arrest warrants in a little over a year for the crime of journalism, where our newsroom behind me has been under sustained attack for just doing our jobs. But I'm not here to tell you about the Philippines alone. I'm here because what happened to us is happening to you. The authoritarian playbook that was beta tested in my country has gone global, and parliaments, your parliaments, are on the front lines of this battle. We're witnessing the systematic dismantling of our shared reality. In the Philippines, we watched social media transform from a tool of liberation into a weapon of oppression. In 2016, we in Rappler documented how disinformation networks could deliver 1 million messages per hour, flooding the information ecosystem until lies became indistinguishable from facts. This isn't just happening in developing democracies. You know this now. Look at your own societies. The same tactics, the same technology platforms are being weaponized to attack your institutions, to erode trust in your parliaments, to make your citizens believe that democracy itself has failed them. The authoritarian narrative is seductive in its simplicity. Democracy is weak, chaotic, inefficient. Strong men offer order. They promise simple solutions to complex problems, and they use the very tools of democracy, free speech, open debate, electoral systems, to destroy it from within. Parliaments today face attacks on 3 fronts. First, the assault on truth itself. When there are no facts, when every piece of evidence can be dismissed as fake news, how can parliaments conduct oversight? How can you hold governments accountable when accountability requires agreement on basic reality? In my country, we've seen congressional hearings become theater, where documented corruption is dismissed with viral lies. Second, the algorithmic manipulation of public discourse. The platforms that were supposed to democratize information have instead created surveillance capitalism that profits from polarization. They've turned democratic debate into tribal warfare. Your constituents aren't just disagreeing anymore. They're living in parallel realities, each with their own facts, their own heroes, their own enemies. The erosion of institutional trust. This is the most dangerous. When citizens no longer believe their parliaments represent them, when they see democratic institutions as corrupt or captured, they become willing to trade freedom for the false promise of authoritarian efficiency. But here's what authoritarians fear most: the triumvirate of parliamentary power, press freedom, and civic engagement working together. Parliaments need a free press. We are your early warning system. When Rappler exposed the disinformation networks in 2016, we were sounding the alarm for democracy itself. When we revealed how Cambridge Analytica-style operations were manipulating our elections, our people, we were defending the integrity of representative government. But we can't do this alone. In the Philippines, when the executive branch weaponized the law against us, it was our legislature that should have been our shield. Instead, many of our legislators amplified the attacks, spreading the very lies meant to destroy us. This is why the European Parliament's commitment to press freedom isn't just about protecting journalists. It's about protecting your own institutional power. When the press is silenced, parliaments are blinded. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Information integrity is the mother of all battles. Without facts, you can't have truth. Without truth, you can't have trust. Without trust, we have no shared reality, and without that, democracy dies. Parliaments must become champions of information integrity. This means legislative action to hold technology platforms accountable, not just for content, but for the algorithmic amplification that turns lies into weapons. The EU's Digital Services Act is a start, but enforcement will determine whether it's meaningful or merely symbolic. 2. Investment in public interest media. While big tech extracts billions from your information ecosystem, local journalism, the journalism that covers your parliaments, your communities, is dying. This isn't just a market failure, it's a democratic emergency. 3. Education for information literacy, and you've heard this. Your constituents need to understand how they're being manipulated, how their emotions are being weaponized, how their data is being used against their own interests. Right now, we're at an inflection point with artificial intelligence. The same technology that could democratize access to information could also perfect the authoritarian surveillance state. Parliaments must decide, will AI serve democracy or destroy it? This isn't hyperbole. In the Philippines, we've seen how automated disinformation campaigns can overwhelm human fact-checkers. We've seen deep fakes, I've had so many of them, used to destroy reputations. We've seen AI-powered surveillance used to track and intimidate journalists and activists. But we've also seen the possibility of technology serving democracy. Here at Rappler, a small group of about 120 journalists were building alternative platforms, looking for digital sovereignty, creating spaces for genuine democratic discourse. We're part of a global movement to reclaim technology for the public good, building the Matrix Protocol chat app, a federation of news organizations. Parliaments must be part of this movement, not just as regulators, but as innovators. Distinguished members, you sit in chambers where history was made, where fascism was defeated, where democracy was rebuilt from ashes. Your predecessors faced tanks and armies. You face algorithms and lies. The threat is different, but the stakes are the same. I've been arrested, I've been threatened, I've been targeted by the full weight of state power, but I'm still here. Still fighting. Rappler is still alive because we know what happens when we surrender. I've seen democracy die in real time, suffocated by lies, strangled by silence. But I've also seen democracy fight back. I've seen citizens refuse to accept manufactured reality. I've seen journalists, our young journalists, risk everything for truth. I've seen parliaments remember their purpose and reclaim their power. This is not a battle any one institution can win alone. Parliaments need journalists to inform your debates. Journalists need parliaments to protect our freedom. Citizens need both to defend our democracy. We must build what I call a trust triangle, connecting parliaments, journalists, and people in defense of truth. This means parliamentary hearings that platform facts, not propaganda, legislation that protects whistleblowers and journalists, oversight that follows evidence regardless of political costs, international cooperation that recognizes authoritarian information operations as the security threat they are. The European Parliament has unique power here. You're not just defending European democracy, you're setting standards for the world. When you stand up to big tech, smaller democracies gain leverage. When you defend press freedom, you protect journalists everywhere. Friends, we don't have the luxury of time. Every day we delay, the information ecosystem becomes more polluted. Every day we hesitate, more citizens lose faith in democracy itself. In the Philippines, we learned this lesson too late. We thought our democracy was strong enough to withstand the lies. We thought our institutions would hold. Yet, under Rodrigo Duterte, they folded in about 6 months. Now other countries, larger democracies, are folding faster. I joke we went from hell to purgatory, while some are just going to hell. The sooner you act, the more of your rights you protect. If you wait, it will take far longer to claw them back. For now, you still have time. Your parliament still have power. Your press is still free, mostly. Your citizens still believe, barely, that democracy can deliver. The question is, will you act before it's too late? The authoritarians are organized. They're funded. They're using our own tools against us, but they have one weakness. They fear the truth. They fear accountability. They fear the very things that parliaments exist to provide. So I leave you with this challenge. Be the parliament that history demands. Be the guardians, not just of process, but of truth itself. Be the bridge between citizens and power that refuses to be burned by lies. Because if parliaments won't defend democracy against disinformation, who will? The future of democracy isn't being decided in some distant tomorrow. It's being decided now, in this moment, by the choices you make, the courage you show, the truth you defend. Stand up and hold the line. The world is watching, and history will judge us all. Thank you.